Teka. Ikaw nakalagay dito. Sige, magandang
Ako ba?
araw.
Sorry. Ako. Sige. Go.
Ay, mga may script na po kami, mga kaibigan.
Tara, umpisa
Kasi
na natin 'to.
nagtitinginan kami.
Umpisa na natin 'to dahil late na tayo ng 1 week dito sa ating, mini-series o Heres series, 'no? So, welcome po sa episode 2 ng ating mini-series, 'no, na usapang Christology. Ako po si Lennon.
At ako po si Russell. At ito ang Tamang
Tamang
Usapan.
usapan.
Usapang
Usapang may tama.
Ah,
Ansel, ngayong linggo, no? So, last week hindi kami nakapag-upload for various reasons. But this week we will be talking about the Paschal mystery, no? Yung passion, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Sakto, kakatapos lang ng Easter season. So, sarawain natin yung no? Yung Easter cross, no? Yung pinakapuso ng ating pananampalataya, the cross and the resurrection.
yes. Kamusta ba, Father? Bakit nga ba tayo hindi nakapag-record last week?
Ako, ang daming ang daming reasons, no? Ang daming mga kabisihan sa buhay. And also, ikaw rin, Sel, di ba? Ikaw ang may pinakamalaking
Yeah, maraming
change.
engagements.
Maraming engagements. Engaged na po si Russell.
Ayun. Well, yung feeling ko rin may gustong pumigil sa ating initiative. Kasi kapag mga usapang kalokohan lang naman, parang ang dali lang mag-record, no? Pero I think what we are intending to talk about is something very significant and truly, it really gives the message. No, kaya in a way, we really have to double our time in prayer and sacrifices also for those who spread the gospel, especially to our Pope. Very evident how he always communicates the message of Jesus, and the person of Jesus. And ayun, ano nga ba ang topic natin ngayon? Last week, just some sort of recap, nagbigay tayo ng introduction to Christology, how we should attack it, nilatag din natin yung plan. And ano pa ba yung mga significant doon? We identified key topics, key terminologies, as well as possible areas ng conflict when it comes to understanding Christ, the historical Christ, the Christ of the Gospels, as our late Pope Benedict XVI would coin it, and who is really Jesus of Nazareth. Now, going deeper into our discussion, and if I may just say, this is one of the this is our topic, our second episode sa mini-series natin, is the very heart of Christianity. Without these two words, we are no different than other religions or organizations across the world or across history. And yet, this is also one of the most taken for granted na mga bagay sa pagiging Kristiyano. And this is no other than the Paschal Mystery. And what is the Paschal Mystery? This is the passion, the death on the cross, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Father Lennon, before we enter deeper and enter into our first segment, what is the Paschal Mystery? Bakit Paschal Mystery? And what makes it a mystery? Just to definition of terms.
So Paschal, no, galing yan actually sa Hebrew or Jewish feast of Pasch, no, ng Paskwa. Anong kino-commemorate dito ng mga Hudyo? Ito yung kanilang Passover, no? If you remember Exodus, nung sila ay paalis ng land of Egypt, no? And ayon ni Pharaoh, umalis sila. One of the 9 signs ay the angel will be going house to house and will be getting the firstborn. So, ang sinabi sa kanila, maglagay kayo ng dugo doon sa, anong Tagalog ng
Hamba.
hamba? Oo, sa hamba. Maglagay kayo ng dugo doon ng lamb para mag-pass over, no? Lagpasan ng angel yung inyong bahay at hindi kunin yung inyong firstborn. In a way, ito yung mystery, ito yung puso nito na in that same way, with the blood of the lamb that is Jesus Christ, no? The angel that brings death passes over us, no? It's a mystery kasi it goes into the heart of what is God, no? Of who is God. And God is always a mystery. A mystery does not mean na secret, no? Na mga elites lang o mga privilege lang ang nakakalam. No. Mystery, no? Mysterion sa Greek. Something that is beyond us because we are finite beings, no? And it is a confession of the infiniteness of God. Kaya yun, Pascal, mystery. So, galing sa Exodus, tapos from the very heart of God.
Yan. So when it comes to the meaning itself, kaya siya Pascal, it is directly connected doon sa event by which God allowed His people to cross from the slavery of Egypt into a new life in the promised land. And with the coming of Jesus perfecting the Paschal celebration, He led the people from the slavery of sin and death into new life with God, with Christ. We couldn't emphasize this more, pero we sincerely hope that during this discussion, we get to know the layers of this mystery. And well, we have begun. You can see the figures there. You have Moses, you have the Israelites, you have the Egyptians, you have the Red Sea. Sakto, patapos ng Easter season sa mga panahong na nirecord natin ito. It's the very purpose also of Easter to always remind us of our crossing into that water of baptism. Kaya the highlight of the Easter season is also baptism. Baptism for those who are to enter Christian faith and those who are already here, to be reminded always of the saving power of baptism. We crossed that Red Sea. Every year, we cross the Red Sea towards new life in Christ. Why is this important? During the time, in that journey of the Israelites, wala pang templo. Nitong time na dumating ang Panginoong Jesus as a human in our midst, when He entered history, the Jewish religion has already established its temple. In the Old Testament, there is always, and even in the New Testament rather, there's always this centrality of the temple, centrality of Jerusalem, because that's where the temple is located. So, now, in the Gospel of John, if I'm not mistaken, 3 beses pumunta ng templo si Jesus, no? Tama ba, Pads? And sa Synoptics kasi 1 beses lang yung narration. Pero definitely as a faithful Jewish man, everyone has their obligation to go to the temple to worship, no? So what makes Jesus of Nazareth controversial as far as the temple of Jerusalem is concerned? We will definitely learn from history that eventually the temple was destroyed by the Roman Empire due to some premature or ill-planned revolt by the Jewish. Pero during this time, the temple stands strong and heavily guarded by various groups of religious people. You have your Pharisees, your Sadducees, you have the priestly clans. No? But here, bakit nga ba? Bakit sobrang controversial ni Jesus dito. Definitely, during according to the Gospel of St. John, I think in the early chapters pa lang, Jesus went up to Jerusalem to celebrate Passover, and he saw people before entering the very part of the temple. There were merchants, they were selling various items, exchanging money, and we can only imagine Jesus. That kind of passion, burning passion, anger rose within him. Ang ginawa niya, pinagtatataob niya yung mga mesa. Kumuha pa nga daw siya ng lubid at hinagupit. Sinabi niya, stop making this house of my father into a den of thieves. And sinabi niya, under whose authority are you doing this? Oh, this is my father's house. No? This was coined as the cleansing of the temple. Pero was he just cleansing it, Pads? Yung by cleansing lang, in the sense na just to remove them, paano? So, ibig sabihin, tama pala yung pari na nanigaw ng vendor dun sa labas ng simbahan. Labas! Diba?
Grabe yung no? Yung labas. Pero actually,
yeah.
Ang main dito, ang main cause, kumbaga, ng conflict, no? This action of Jesus, yung cleansing of the temple. Kay John, tama yung sabi ni Russell, nilagay ni John to sa simula, no? Kasi nga kay John, which is logical, maraming beses, no? Almost taon-taon umaakyat si Jesus sa Jerusalem. But I think may tama yung synoptic gospels, no? So Mark, Matthew, and Luke, na nilagay nila to immediately actually before ng arrest ni Jesus. No? Kasi ito yung ito yung ginagamit laban sa kanya. It is one of the accusations against him, no? Makikita natin ito sa mga, if you remember yung accusations sa Sanhedrin, no? For example, sa Mark 14:58, or dun sa mga yung kinukutsa siya yung nasa cross, di ba? Di ba gigibain mo yung templo, ganyan. So that's Mark 15:29. The temple is very important for the Jewish faith, no? Because that is the Sancta Sanctorum.
Holy of Holies.
Tama yung sabi ni Russell, nagiba na to. Actually, second na to second temple na to kasi nagiba na to before nung exile nila sa Babylon. Yeah. So it's a very important place, not just religiously, but also culturally and nationally. The temple is the symbol of the identity of the Jewish people. So going against the temple is problematic. Now, dito sa ni Lord, no? Sa cleansing niya of the temple. What is at the heart here is not just nagwala siya, no? Hindi lang 'yun Hindi niya kino-condemn actually yung yung simpleng negosyo. Hindi yung negosyo Ang sistema kasi niyan sa templo, bawal kang mag-alay ng moneda o ng pera ng mga pagano, yung mayroong mukha ng mga pagano. Ang pera ng Roman Empire, which at that time is the colonial authority over Jerusalem, may mukha yun ng Caesar So, bawal mo yun i-offer sa templo. So, sa labas ng templo, may mga money exchange, no? Para mapalitan mo nung pera ng templo. So, yun yung ibabayad mo doon. And then, you also have yung mga animals to sacrifice. Now, ito kasi, yung idea nitong mga animals na to, imagine this, taga halimbawa, taga Bethlehem ka. That is what? Ilang miles din yun? Ilang kilometers din yun away from Jerusalem? Hindi pa uso nun ng mga, wala pang kotse nun, wala pang metro nun. So, lakad lang talaga. Now, magdadala ka ng animals mo, ang bigat nun. Kung meron kang tupa, di ba? Mahihirapan ka pa. So, the best way, doon mo nabilin sa Jerusalem, di ba? Nandun na sa labas ng templo. Doon mo nabibilin yung i-offer mong animal. Ang problema mo, nakadepende yon kung magkano yung pera mo sa kung ano yung animal na mabibili mo. If you remember, nung presentation at the temple, ang nabili lang nila ay dove, di ba? Maliit na ibon lang ang nai-offer nila. Kung medyo mas may rami kang pera, pwede kang makabili ng baka siguro, kaya ng lamb, ganyan. Anyways, pero more than just that, no, na mayroong corruption doon. First doon. And also, yung sa pala, nakalimutan ko yung sa money exchange. Syempre, may tubong lugaw yun eh. So, more than just the corruption, more than just the morality of these actions. Kasi yung business naman nila at the core of it is justified eh. Pero more than that, what Jesus is against here is actually the very theological presentation, no, of the temple. The temple of Jerusalem was arranged by purity. So you have the Holy of Holies, yung pinakagitna na nandun yung Ark of the Covenant. Ang pwede lang pumasok doon yung high priest. At yung sumo sacerdote na yun, pwede lang siyang pumasok doon 2 beses lang sa isang taon. And then you have after that a place, no, for the priests, and then a place for men, and then a place for women, and then labas na ng templo sa courtyard para sa mga Gentiles, no, para sa mga pagano na they worship Yahweh pero they are not Jews, so hindi sila pwede pumasok. So mayroong series of purity, no. What Jesus is actually, ang talagang nilalaban niya na dito ay itong itong mindset na to, itong theological interpretation of the temple. And actually, ito na, papasok na yung sinabi ni Jesus nga na isa sa mga accusations sa kanya. Sabi niya, gabihin ninyo tong templong to at itatayo ko to ulit in 3 days, no? Sabi ni, I think John yan, sabi niya na he is referring to himself, to his body. Why? Because Jesus now is not just cleansing the temple. He was actually replacing it with himself. He himself is the true temple, sabi sa Jesus of Nazareth, no? Benedict XVI, ni Joseph Ratzinger. He himself is the true temple. Kaya nga sabi niya, if you remember doon sa Samaritan woman, there will come a time that you will worship in spirit and truth, and you will no longer need the temple at Jerusalem because He is the temple. Yun ang pinaka-main na problema at conflict, no? Ito yung tension between Jesus and the religious authorities.
Well, I believe this is a very critical aspect not only ng Christology but Christianity as a whole. Just to give the context, Pads, if I may. You can see here, well, tayo, mga Pinoy tayo, hindi naman talaga natin na experience unless some of those who are listening in this episode have already been gone to Israel or the United States, for example, or kung saang bansa na merong mga Jewish communities talaga. But the temple is really a big thing. We remember those who are reading their Bibles from time to time. Noong nagsisimula pa lang ang kingdom ng Israel, the very point why the temple was built is because it has to house the what we call as the Ark of the Covenant, no? Baga na andoon sa Ark of the Covenant, nandun yung presensya ng Diyos. Kaya nga, nung naglalakad ang mga Israelita sa ilang o sa disyerto, you will see the pillar of cloud assisting them. Ginaguide sila kahit naging wayward, naging pasaway yung bayan ng Diyos. The Spirit of God, the presence, rather, hindi lang Spirit the very presence of the Lord has been with them through and through. Tapos napunta ito sa templo, kaya mapapansin nyo, maalala ninyo, no, nagkaroon ng illustration yung gospel na merong malaking kortina. Kasi yung to give this more emphasis and to illustrate it. Yung templo, mga kaibigan, hindi siya parang katulad lang ng mga simbahan natin na may gate, may security guard, tapos nandun na yung nagmimisa doon sa sa loob. No, may mga layers siya. May mga layers, no? So merong inner temple pa nga At dun sa pinaka-inner, yung inner sanctum, sinasabi ni Leron kanina, Sancta Sanctorum, yung tinatawag na Holy of Holies. Ang nagse-separate lang nun sa mga tao is isang malaking kortina. No? At nung namatay nga si Jesus dun sa gospel na sinulat ng mga evangelists natin, napunit. And they all saw what is in there, but they did not die. Kasi in the Old Testament accounts, nobody sees it and lives. No? So nobody sees God and lives. The very point of the temple is the presence of God lives there. Kumbaga, that is a certain part of the world na hindi worldly. Parang alam nyo, I hope you can get me. Kumbaga, pag pumasok ka doon, you are entering into a different timeline or entering into a different dimension that is outside of this world. And here comes Jesus Christ telling these people, gibain nyo and I will reveal it in 3 days. Kaya sabi ng ibang mga nakarinig, sira ulo ka ba? More than 46 years nga to bago nabuo. So, then you will just understand in that context na the temple is equals to presence of God. And Jesus says, destroy this temple and I will rebuild it again in 3 days. Then you correlate it doon sa kanyang passion. Nung namatay siya sa krus, nung napunit yung tabing ng templo, and they all still lived, is a very great symbol or it's a very powerful image that indeed Jesus replaced that temple with his own body. And that gave the foundation of our Christian faith. Kasi when we speak about the body of Christ as the church, we become one body kasi we have Christ as the head. So, yun lang emphasis ko na from the externality of that temple of Jerusalem, no, we have an indestructible temple that we found in Christ. No, mas ano pa nga to hindi ko alam kung tama kasi wala na pala, hindi na natin madidiscuss din. You also try to imagine, before we end this segment, the animals na dinidiscuss ni Father Lennon kanina. You can only imagine how noisy and how dirty the temple looked during Passover. Kasi isipin nyo, ang daming taong bibili ng hayop, tapos may katayan, tapos may isang place ng sacrifice. No? You try to imagine that may isang place doon na madumi at madugo at pabaho. So really, in a way, in a sense, in a very big sense, Christ literally cleansed the temple. There will be no longer a need of these bloody sacrifices kasi that perfect one and only Lamb of God will be slain for all. So no need to go every year and purchase yourself an animal. Especially, iba kitang-kita mo rin, kung gusto ko mag-bat in kanina yung, imagine mo yung sa templo pa lang may temple currency. If you remember also one of the Gospels, just to digress a little, Peter was na-BIR si Pedro. Nalala niyo ba yun? Sabi, hindi kayo nagbabayad ng tax temple tax. Kaya sabi ni Jesus, sige mangisda ka, yung unang makukuha mong isda, merong barya dun sa bibig ng isda. And it will be sufficient para bayaran mo yung tax natin. So may temple currency, tapos yung mga hayop, no? And how it were all cleansed. That system was cleansed by Christ. So no wonder, Pads, it's very radical, it's very revolutionary, and in a way, scandalous talaga sa mga Hudyo na parang, how dare you? Kaya papatanong sila, sino tong taong to? Pero yeah, indeed, no? Because his body will be the new locus, no, of the divine presence. Diba? Imagine how powerful that is. Sabi nga ni Hans Urs von Balthasar. And definitely, if you are to speak something as quote-unquote scandalous as that, And most of the people, especially those who have the power, na nasagasaan mo, nabangga mo, they will immediately call for your head. So, in a political sense, this is actually one of the causes, no, ng death ni Jesus of Nazareth. Kasi he actually, imagine niyo na lang to, of all the things that he has spoken openly against of, he has been merely tolerated by the local leaders, especially by the priests. The priests here are, well, paano ba, without casting aspersions, so just to be objective, just like our leaders of the land. Hanggat hindi mo sila nababangga, hanggat hindi mo kino-question yung authority and yung reason for their existence ng office nila, no? Wala silang paki sa'yo. So, you have here Jesus of Nazareth. He was beginning his ministry outside Jerusalem. He was, from time to time, who would enter into debate with Pharisees, local Pharisees. He will question their hypocrisy. They will call out for their yung pagiging hypocrites, yung corruption. But here you are, you enter the temple. It's the central figure of the Jewish religion. At the same time, it's the central figure of the authority of the Jewish leaders. So they were really shaken. Kaya no wonder, they will really call for your head. So while we view as Christians, we view it as cleansing, these people were really pissed off, no? And they really, I think as early as this Pads, parang sabi mo nga sa synoptics, medyo nasa dulo na. Kay San Juan kasi, nasa simula ng gospel niya tong cleansing eh. Pero if you will look at the synoptic side, no, ng narrative, this really immediately tendered, no, the plot against Jesus' life. So, since the Gospels naman are in harmony with each other, man, in the sense. So, we have come here, yung title ng ating episode is Paschal Mystery. No? It all began with our discussion of the temple kasi Jesus had to be there for the Passover. But what really marked, no, yung simula nung ating discussion of Paschal Mystery, even during the year, every year as Christians, we always celebrate it, no, upon the commemoration of the Lord's Supper. Kaya nga ang Paschal Triduum, the 3 days of the celebration o commemoration of the Passion, Death, and Resurrection of Jesus Christ, we always begin on Holy Thursday by the celebration of the Last Supper. Sige, Pads, dito kasi mas, hindi dun sa temple eh. During the Last Supper, when they, after mag, quote-unquote, mag-skandalo ng Panginoon doon, he called for the preparation of this meal, no, of the supper with his apostles, with his disciples. And actually, mahaba-haba ang discussion to. Kasi if you look at this in the lens of St. John's Gospel, mahaba ito. No? Pero ito na yung patikim na Jesus is actually concretely preparing his disciples of what's going to happen after this supper. No, sige Pads, ikaw nang dyan. You lead us the discussion here.
Yeah, actually, the central question here is, naisip na ba, kumbaga, na preview, kumbaga, ni Jesus na yung magiging kapalaran niya, na mamamatay siya, di ba? So, some theologians magsasabi na hindi, na he was caught in surprise. And then you have John, no, na talagang was prepared nung hinahanap siya. Sabi niya, eto ako. Sinong hinahanap niyo? Si Jesus ng Nazaret. Ako yun. Di ba? So, he's ready. Now, we will see if he is really ready and he already knows, no, yung mangyayari sa kanya. Actually, dito, sa Last Supper, no? The Last Supper has the character of, despedida, no? Ng pamamaalam. No? This is very obvious, especially sa Gospel ni John. Kasi you have that long discourse, no? Farewell discourse. Nandyan yung I have my commandment to you is to love one another. I no longer treat you slaves. I call you friends. And then yung prayer niya na, Father, may they be one. Yan. Napakahaba niyan. That is actually his farewell, no? His farewell discourse na nandoon sa context ng Last Supper. That is why hindi siya kagulat-gulat kumbaga na sa parte ni Jesus mismo meron na siyang feeling, no? Kahit na hindi natin sabihin na talagang alam niya yung exactong mangyayari. Pero meron na siyang feeling anong mangyayari, no? Because his death is actually a consequence of how he lived. No? Katulad sa sabi ni Russell kanina, when he was preaching at the outskirts of Galilee, no, of Judea, wala lang kasi lang yun mga towns lang yun And then he came to Jerusalem, the great city of Jerusalem. And then he made that scene at the temple. Talagang nadali yung puso ng mga religious authority, no? So now, yung peligro, no, ng death is now much nearer. Actually, one of the greatest theologians, Spanish theologians, si Oleguero Gonzalez de Cardenal, napakaganda nung pagkakanyang pag-synthesize niya dito, no, sa question na to. Sabi niya, if Jesus leaves, then Judaism will perish. And if Judaism wants to continue, then Jesus must perish. No? Kaya nga yung sumusaserdote, yung punong pari ng if you remember dun sa gospel ni John, di ba? Sabi niya sa John 11:47-50, di ba? Sabi niya, kailangan mamatay ng isang tao para sa bayan. That's actually prophetic, no? That's coming from a priest, no? Kasi at the end of the day, he's still a priest of the Lord. And dun sa para sa bayan, ang Greek nun is hyper, para, no? That is the same Greek term na makikita natin dun sa words of consecration, dun sa for you and for many, no? Yung para sa inyo at para sa nakararami o sa marami. No? Ano ba bang Tagalog? Para sa lahat pala sa Tagalog, no? Now, let us now go to the Last Supper itself, no? In the Last Supper, what is important there is that we go to the words of, especially the words of consecration that we call now, no? Yung words niya doon sa bread and then doon sa wine. No? Kasi there we will see how he interprets his coming death. First, ang pinagkaiba muna ng context. Sa Gospel ni John, the Johannine Gospel, yung date nung Last Supper is the 13th day of Nisan, yun yung pangalan ng month. Hindi siya Paschal meal. Kasi yung mga Hudyo, pag nagse-celebrate nga sila ng Paskwa, may meal yun, no? So, inaalala nila yung kanilang pag-alis sa Egypt. So, kaya yung unleavened bread, yung naging hostia na natin ngayon, doon yun nanggaling. So now, para kay John, hindi yun siya Paschal meal kasi Webes nangyari yun, habang pinapatay yung mga lambs na i-offer sa Paskwa, doon din yung oras na namatay si Jesus para kay John. Now, sa Synoptic Gospel, no, ang date ng Last Supper is the 14th of Nisan, which is Webes din. Pero that Last Supper is a Paschal meal, no? Nandun yun sa konteksto ng celebration ng Paskwa. So now, why is it important? Hindi natin kailangan pagdebatehan kung Paschal meal ba yun o hindi. No, what is important is to see that the Last Supper is in the context of the celebration of the feast of the Paskwa, of the Pasch. No? So we have to also see now as the interpretative key, no, dito sa words ni Jesus sa Last Supper ay yung Exodus story din ng Passover, yung celebration ng Passover. Now, para kay John, katulad ng sinabi ko, he does not see it as a Paschal meal. Because for John, Jesus is a true Paschal Lamb, no? The Lamb of God that takes away the sins of the world, no? Kaya nga yung sabi ko kanina, yung chronological na coincidence ng pagpatay sa mga lambs, then yung kamatayan ni Jesus. Para sa mga synoptics, no, Luke, Matthew, Mark, no, the Paschal mystery, the celebration of the Paschal meal, itong Last Supper, reveals that here is now inaugurating a new alliance, a new testament, no? Yung bagong covenant, a new covenant pala yung English, hindi alliance. Yung bagong covenant, no, between God and man. And this covenant is no longer realized through the blood of the lambs, but through the blood of Jesus, no? Na dadanak para sa marami, for many, o iperpolon sabi sa Greek, no? Yung many pala yan sa Hebrew, it means all. Okay? So, huwag na natin masyado ano yun. Pero yun yung ano. Yun yung kay Mark. Para kay Luke, actually, for you, iperimon, for you and for many. So, for the forgiveness of sins, di ba? Yun yung sinasabi na. So, you have that two traditions na mapagsasama natin. The supper, no? The Last Supper is symbolic in a way because Jesus here is giving sense. No? He is interpreting before even the event itself. He is interpreting what will happen dun sa kanyang kamatayan. Ano man sabi ni Jesus dun sa take this all of you and eat of it, for this is, yung sabi niya sa bread, this is, hindi niya sinabi this is a symbol. Sabi niya, this is my body which will be given up for you. Given up for you. So for you, again, yung iper na napaka-importante, para, yung probobis. And then, ang sabi niya sa blood, this is the chalice of my blood. The chalice of the new covenant, yung sa synoptics. What we see now here is that Jesus is interpreting that his death on the cross is actually an event na napaka-importante because there he will give up his body for you, iper. So hindi lang siya doon namatay kasi nahuli siya. No, Jesus actually willed it himself. This is part of his obedience as son. Kaya babalikan natin sa Philippians, di ba? Yung though he was in the form of God, Jesus did not deem equality with God something to be grasped at. So tulo nun, sabi niya, accepting even death on a cross. That is the obedience of the Son. Now, Jesus is saying, I have accepted that death for you and for many. And this iperpulong, ito rin ay inauguration ng isang bagong covenant between God and His people. Just like the old covenant, no, sa Old Testament. No? Sa Old Testament, ang sign ng covenant between God and His people, ang pirmahan nila ay yung offering nung lamb, sacrificial lamb. Yung dugo nun, again, dugo para sa mga Hudyo ay sagrado. Kaya nga hindi sila pwedeng kumain ng dinuguan eh. Kasi dugo is para sa kanila the source of life. Therefore, dugo is only for God. So the offering, pagka nag-offer ka ng lamb, susunugin mo yung lamb, and then yung dugo na yun, pambabasbas mo yun. Yun yung holy water nila, kumbaga. So, now, you have this imperfect covenant, no? So, old covenant. And now we have here in the Last Supper, Jesus saying na, eto, again, there will be a new covenant between man and God. But the lamb, the sacrificial lamb, is no longer another lamb there. The lamb now, the Lamb of God, is Jesus Himself who will be offered up on the cross. Kaya nga yung kay John, sabay yung pagpatay sa mga sacrificial lambs sa kamatayan ni Jesus sa krus. And yung dugo that sprouted from His right side, no? It is the blood that will bless us. It is the blood that will seal this new covenant. No? Tapos puntahan natin ngayon yung letter to the Hebrews. Sabi niya, kaya nga hindi na Hindi na katulad sa Old Covenant na kailangan pa ulit-ulit yung sacrifice. Why? Because Jesus did it once and for all dun sa krus, yung kanyang sacrifice, no? Now, here, what we have here, sabi ni Joseph Ratzinger, is that Jesus transforms the act of being killed into an act of self-giving love.
Ganda, ganda. Tas medyo namin naalala pa ako noon no? Kasi magkaiba nga yung Johannine Gospel sa Synoptics. If I'm not mistaken, ang celebration ng Passover Pads ay merong 4 na cups. Parang 4 na sa ritual, di ba? And the 4th cup, as we call it, is the cup of perfection. I forgot the meaning of the first 3. Pero apparently, if you correlate it with one of the synoptic gospels, he mentioned na, drink this, for I shall not drink the fruit of the vine until I drink it anew with you in the Father's kingdom. Diba? So, parang ang labas nga, nung sinabi niya yon, Jesus did not drink the 4th cup during the Last Supper. Kasi, cup of completion yata tawag doon. Kasi nga, when he was crucified, doon niya ininom sa cross yung cup, if I'm not mistaken. Kaya 'di ba, sabi niya doon, I thirst. And when he was given that vinegar, imagine mo, yung sponge na nilagyan nila ng hyssop, it's actually the most degrading and the most, he really entered into the basis of human existence kasi eventually we get to learn that the sponge there is actually a sponge being used for all kinds of utilities, including panghugas ng sariling katawan, no? And doon nila tinubog, no? Nilubog nila sa alak na maasim, vinegar. And nung sip-sip nila kay Jesus, ang sabi ni Jesus, it is finished. Yeah, it's a very powerful symbol. Pero what actually makes me all the more fascinated and appreciative of this reflection of this reality is that according to von Balthasar, in a way, no? And yeah, it is actually true. Jesus anticipates his death liturgically. This is a very powerful image kasi we have read so many great men who walked on this face of the earth. But of all of these men and women, of course, it's only Jesus Christ who made his life a liturgical witnessing in a way. No? Parang he made this commemoration of his death liturgical. No? Kaya nga, in the Eucharist, what happens in the Eucharist? Tama ba, Pads? We commemorate. No? We commemorate the Calvary. Kumbaga, we are standing there at the foot of the cross with Mary, with the beloved disciple. But through the manner of the Last Supper, we commemorate it. Kaya gawin nyo ito sa pag-aalaala sa akin. It's liturgical and it's, gaya sabi Father, huwag na tayo pumunta doon sa complexity ng pro vobis et pro multis. No? Kasi, well, just to be kaya, bakit din siya crucial? Kasi, as much as Christ would like everyone, all, there is a need for a personal participation of the Paschal celebration. So if you, sabi nga ni San Pablo, di ba, every responsorial psalm ng Huwebes Santo ng gabi, sa kalis ng pagbabasbas, no? Our saving cup is a communion with the blood of Christ. So we have to enter into communion with Christ and with His body. Kaya it's pro vobis for those who were there and pro multis for the many as possible. In a way, it gives the sense of for all. It is open for all. But it will only be poured for many. Kasi despite being offered for all, hindi naman lahat willing mag-partake ng saving death, no, ng Panginoon. So, what can we glean from this? The Last Supper is just a preview. At the same time, it's a foretaste of not only what happened in the Calvary, but also a living testament of His abiding presence. Now, if you do this, I will always be with you. But this also prepared the hearts of His disciples, no, to the actual. Imagine, the Last Supper itself is a very heavy, dramatic scene, no. Ako personally, Pads, no, even when I was still inside seminary, I always find the liturgy of the Holy Thursday as very, alam mo yun, yung makabagdamdamin and grace-filled in a sense, no. But what we are actually being prepared is for the next day, no, the very passion, the death and resurrection of Christ, no. Imagine being prepared heavily by your master for his big day, only to find yourself incapable of practically joining him. Kaya nga, sa Gethsemane pa lang, nagtakbuhan na eh. Nagtakbuhan na sila. You have Peter, the head of the group. He even denied. And little by little, we enter into the passion narrative. It was late night. Allow me to just illustrate this para buo yung kanat sa Paschal Mystery. If we can only enter this reflectively also, you have here the Last Supper. Jesus offering himself, Jesus consoling his friends. Yeah, sabi nga ni Father Lennon, I no longer call you friends. Then lengthily he prayed for them. And he told them, if the world hates you, realize that it hated me first. But don't be afraid. I have overcome the world. And I will give you power. And you ask anything for my name. Ask anything you desire in the Father in my name, and it will be given you. Then, sabi nga sa Synoptics, after singing some hymns, they went to the Mount of Olives. Then, being the insider that Judas was, nakalagay din doon. So, Judas knew the place and he went and alam niya ito mangyayari. And we can see here Jesus in Gethsemane. It's a garden in the Mount of Olives, which is also very symbolic. Why? Kasi, apparently, itong part na ito, Pads, tama ba? This is within the part of the Kidron Valley. Yung Kidron Valley kasi, it's symbolic. Kasi, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, ito ay hanggat maaari, Jewish people would bury their relatives there. I'm not sure if it is from the prophet Micah, but basta it's one of the prophets na nagsasabi na ang Mesiyas kasi from the Mount of Olives, maglalakad siya papuntang Jerusalem passing through the Kidron Valley. Kaya daw, doon nila nililibing kasi when the Messiah comes, everyone will rise from the dead. So, he was there, he was praying, and yun nga, sa Johannine Gospel, nandun na yung pulutong ng mga aaresto sa kanya and he faced them all. Who are you looking for? Jesus of Nazareth. He was arrested. The disciples all fled the scene. May isa pa nga daw dun dahil sa takot, hubad na tumakbo. Mga complexities ng gospel na masarap i-translate no? Or alamin, aralin. Then, di ba yung mga complexities, di ba ito, inaresto siya, pero kailangan niyang i-detain. So yung denial ni Pedro, hindi lang siya just to add into the drama. Kumbaga, meron din siyang malalim na kahulugan. Sabi ni Jesus, before the cock crows twice, you will deny me 3 times. It's very important for the cock to crow. Kaya nga, symbol din siya ng passion eh. Kasi Jesus was illegally detained. Kasi according to the law, bawal kang maglitis, manghuli, especially sa banal na araw na yan, bawal kang gumawa ng mga ganon sa kalagitnaan ng gabi. In a modern sensibility, Jesus was actually a target of an intelligence operation. Kumbaga, natokhang ang Panginoon kung sa although anachronistic pero gano'n siya 'no. Na-intel siya 'no, na-intel operation siya. So, tinangay siya ng gabi, so dinetain siya at pag-crown ng manok 'no, pagtilaok ng manok, hinarap na siya sa Sanhedrin 'no. Kasi technically, dahil tumilaok na, umaga na. Then he was faced sa Sanhedrin, tas dahil walang power ang Sanhedrin na maghatol ng kamatayan, dinala nila sa ICC. The joke lang. dinala sa ano, dinala sila sa governor, no, sa Roman governor. And nagulat si Pilato, sabi niya, teka, bakit gusto niyong patayin yan? Grabe naman. Ano bang kasalanan niya? Then he found out he was a Galilean. Pinadala niya muna kay Herodes. Herodes, walang nakita. Binalik kay Pilato. Then, we see here, pinabuhat siya ng krus. May tumulong sa kanya. Ngayon, pinako na siya. For quite some time, nakabayubay siya doon with all the people mocking and jeering him. No? You have the soldiers pinagsugalan yung kanyang gamit while the chief priests or the elders are mocking him na akala ko ba gigibayin mo yung templo, akala ko ba ikaw yung Mesiyas, bakit hindi ka bumaba? Pati yung kasama niyang pinako doon. So nandito tayo sa nakakamanhid na ewan ko, feeling ko kapag Biyernes Santo, sa sobrang overload na ng symbols ng Huwebes Santo, pagdating mo ng Biyernes Santo, alam mo yung manhid ka na. Namanhid ka dun sa suffering na tinamo ng Panginoon. Alam mo yung parang sa sobrang hirap na nung pinagdaanan niya, if you reflect on it, you end up being numb to it. Na parang, wala ka nang masabi. No? Kaya meron akong kaklase dati sa seminary na sabi niya, one day if I'm going to become a priest, hindi ako magbibigay ng homily kapag Good Friday. Kasi I will just allow the reading, especially the passion narrative, to speak for itself. No? Kasi it's just so powerful that you can't do anything but to just reflect and just be grateful. No? Pero I digress. The point is, severe, napakalala, napakalupit ng in-endure niya. No? Na parang preparing the disciples was barely enough for them to actually bear the actual witnessing of his passion. So at the end of the day, if you're going to look at this objectively, mapapatanong tayo sino ba talaga pumatay kay Jesus, Pads? Yung mga Hudyo ba? Yung mga Romano ba? Si Judas ba? Kasi kung saan si Judas yung spy na parang kung hindi ba bumaliktad si Judas? No? So how shall we look at this? And how shall we reflect on this?
So, nakikita na natin ngayon, no? Why was Jesus killed? Again, Jesus was killed. His death is a consequence of how he lived, no? So, who killed Jesus? Meron tayong dalawang makikitang suspect, kumbaga, no? Quote-unquote suspect, no? So, first is the religious authorities, no? So, first, why? No? Why? What is the religious reasons, no, para sa kamatayan ni Jesus, no? Of course, as Russell have told us, no, sa kanyang summary nitong passion narrative nga, it was actually the temple guards. They are not civil officers, no? Hindi sila police ng estado. Kasi nga, by that time, Israel is under the Roman Empire, no? So, ang pwede lang magano doon ay yung mga Roman legionaries. So, it was actually the temple guards who arrested Jesus dinala siya doon sa courtyard, no? Again, tama si Russell, that's actually in a way illegal kasi bawal yon sa umaga. And anyways, what are the accusations, no, religiously speaking, towards Jesus? First is, of course, one of the biggest accusation is his messianic pretension. No? Yung kanyang claim, yung kanyang messianic claim, yung title ng Messias or Cristo, Christ the Anointed One. Jesus himself did not in any of the gospel claim it verbally, but his actions, his words, and of course his disciples. That is where they are tending, no? Dun sa claim ng pagiging Mesias. Now the problem is that there is a difference on how people interpret the title, no? Ito titingnan natin to sa next episode pa. Our next episode rather, sa titles, no? Titles of Christ. Ano ba talaga itong pagiging Mesias, pagiging anointed, pagiging Kristo, no? Kaya nga if we remember, no, isa sa mga mockery sa cross, no? Sabi for example sa Mark 15:31, no, mayroon man you saved others, pero bakit hindi mo mailigtas yung sarili mo? Ikaw ang Kristo, ang hari ng Israel. Bumaba ka dyan para makita namin at para maniwala kami, di ba? Isa yun sa mga mockery kay Lord, no? Tapos makikita rin natin yung kay Pilate din, no? Yung kanyang question nung nagkaroon na ng interrogation. Siya, are you the king of the Jews? So, yung king of the Jews ay very associated dun sa title ng Christ or ng Messias, no? Kasi nga, ang interpretation ng mga Hudyo doon ay regal, no? Hindi lang regal, talagang as a warrior, no, na magpapalaya sa bayan ng Israel. This condemnation, religious condemnation on his messianic claims is actually confirmed doon sa sinulat ni Pilato at nilagay doon sa krus, no, yung titulus crucis na tinatawag, o INRI, kung nakita nyo na yan sa mga simbahan, sa mga crucifix niyo, merong INRI sa taas, di ba? Ano meaning nun? Jesus Nazarenus Rex Iodorum. Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. No? The King of the Jews. That is actually the Christ, the Messiah, no? So that is the first accusation, religiously speaking. The second one is, nakita na natin, his critique on the temple, against the temple, no? Now, para sa mga Romano, wala silang pakialam doon. Mag-away kayo dyan. Kung ano nyo yun, problema nyo yan, templo nyo yan. Hindi naman namin templo yan. But Jesus' critique on the temple is also a critique on the temple's theology, on the temple's, how the temple sees God, no? And in a way, ito ay destabilizing, no, para sa religious authorities, yung critique ni Jesus sa templo. Kasi nga hindi mo lang sinisira yung kanilang power, no, kung pagtitingnan natin to as a power dynamics, no. So, maging tayo, modernist tayo, sundan natin si Foucault lang, tingin lang natin sa lahat ng bagay, power and no power. Pero hindi lang to power dynamics. Ito rin ay delikado kasi sisirain ito yung para sa kanila, nasa utak tayo ng mga priests ng Old Testament. Pagka sinira mo yung templo, pagka sinabi mo na wala na yung authority ng templo, wala na yung theology ng templo, masisira rin yung identity ng bayan, no? Ano na nga tayo sakop na nga tayo ng mga Romano tapos tatanggalin mo pa yan, no? So, other accusations against him, no? He was accused of being a seductor, no? A seductor and a propagator of false prophecy. Both are condemned, no? Makita niyo sa Deuteronomy 13 and 17. He is also accused of blasphemy for claiming to be the Son of God. Again, titingnan natin tong title na to sa next episode, no? Or for claiming to sit at the right hand of the Father, no? So again, ito yung mga claims, no, yung mga accusations against him. In a way, mayroon silang basis, pero there is always yung disconnection baga. Mayroong disequilibration ng dalawang yon, no? Now, what is at stake here is that the religious authorities of Israel is actually saying no to Jesus Christ and to his claims, to his messianic claims, no? However, ang problema mo, wala yung tinatawag na ius gladii or the right of the sword sa mga Hudyo. So hindi nila pwedeng patayin si Jesus. The only one who can condemn him to death are the Romans, no? So yung supreme authority of the Roman authority doon sa Judea at the time is Pilate. Now, pagdating natin ngayon sa yan ang religious, no? And then we have now the political condemnation. Ang medyo delikado, I mean, medyo sensitive dito is that we must remember that the Gospels was written, 30 years after the resurrection, 70 years. By this time, Christians are already having the first moments of separating from the Jews kasi yung mga Hudyo na lang natitira, yung mga Pariseyo na lang. Tapos yung mga Pariseyo, pinupurify na nila yung Judaism, so tinatanggal nila yung Christianity. So mayroong sense ng away between the communities, kumbaga. And by this time, Christians themselves are presenting themselves to the Roman authorities as good citizens, no? Kasi nga, kapag nawala na sila, hindi na sila nasa umbrella ng Judaism, problematic yun. Dito nang galing yung mga persecutions eh. Kasi nga, para sa mga Romano, pag sinakop ka nila, aampunin nila yung Diyos mo. Pero ang importante doon, luma at mayroong tradition yung religion mo. Now, kapag humiwalay yung mga Kristiyano sa mga Hudyo, wala na sila ngayon tradition, wala na silang kalumaan, bago na sila. At para sa mga Romano, lahat ng bago ay suspetyoso. So ngayon, by this time, Christians are appealing to the Roman authorities. Kaya pag nakita ninyo yung Gospels, parang may sense na parang napilitan lang yung mga Romano. Diba? Napilitan lang. Ayaw talaga ni Pilato eh. However, we cannot be so sure na ayaw talaga ni Pilato. What we can be so sure is that si Pilato ay hindi siya interesado kasi problema nyo yan eh, away nyo yan eh, religion nyo yan eh. Wala namang kinalaman yun. Pero Pilate is also a very cruel man. Pagdating niya noon, nung na-assign siya as prefect ng Judea, ang una sa mga acts niya ay nagpapatay siya ng napakaraming tao, nagpa-crucify siya ng napakaraming tao. He's a very cruel man.
Ginawa niyang bakod.
Oo. We go back now to the political condemnation. What are the political reasons? First, ayun nga, dahil nga wala yung right of the sword, yung ius gladii, dun sa mga Hudyo, kaya ipinasa nila kay Pilato. Ngayon, ang kanila ngayong accusation sa harap ni Pilato ng Roman authority, hindi na yung messianic claim, hindi na yung yung profanation of the temple. Ang kanilang accusation is that Jesus is an agitator, a dangerous individual against the interests of Rome, of the empire, no? Kaya nga, yung Titulus Crucis again, no? The king of the Jews, yung king, yung title ng king now gains much more political significance. Kaya nga yung tanong din ni Pilato kay Jesus, di ba? Are you the king of the Jews? And Jesus said, yes, I am. But if I am the king in this world, hindi papayagan ng mga gwardya ko na makuha mo ko. It's because pinayagan ka ng Ama, kaya nandito ako ngayon. So anyways, now, what we have here is that Pilate's motives are purely political, no? Hindi siya wala siyang kinalaman dun sa wala siyang interest dun sa theological discussions, no? Ang first, ano bang function ni Pilate dun sa Judea, no, as prefect? Siya ay taga-kolekta ng tributes, taga-kolekta ng buwis at taga siguro ng kapayapaan at ng social order, no? Now, here comes the Jew saying, itong taong to, magre-rebelde yan. No? So, yun yung main problema ngayon ng Pilato. Kaso nakita niya nga na, teka, parang wala naman. Kinausap ko naman. Wala naman. Tapos sinanong niya, di ba? Yung present niya, Ecce homo, this, behold the man. Tapos binigyan niya pa ng pagkakataon yung mga tao eh. Sabi niya, pili kayo. Ito bang si Jesus na nagkiklaim na hari ninyo siya? O itong si Barabas na isang bandido magnanakaw? Sinong palalayain natin kasi magpapasko ah. Ako nagpapalaya ako tuwing Pasko. Sabi ng mga tao, di ba? Si Barabas, hindi si Jesus. And by that time, nung sinabi pa ulit ni Pilato na ayaw niyo ba talaga innocent na? I find him innocent eh. Anong sabi nila? Kapag hindi mo ipinapatay yan, you are an enemy of Caesar. You are an enemy of Caesar. So enemy ka rin ng ano. So in a way, may political pressure kay Pilato na patayin niya si Jesus na. Now, what is now the theological sense of his death by this political condemnation? Two things. First is the acknowledgement of the kingship of Christ na makikita natin again sa Titulus Crucis. Imagine this. A civil authority, the supreme authority of Roman Empire in the province of Judea, proclaiming to the whole world. Kasi yung INRI, yung Titulus Crucis, anong nakasulat yon? Sa Latin, sa Greek, at sa Hebrew, di ba? Latin, the language of the empire. Greek is the language of the whole world by that time, quote unquote. Yun yung lingua franca. And Hebrew, the liturgical language of the Jews. It's a proclamation, it's an acknowledgement by a civil authority of the claim of Jesus, no? Secondly, it is also an unmasking of the political power play. Nung sinabi ng mga sumusaserdotes, no, ng mga pari ng templo na kami ay kay Cesar, kami ay kay Cesar. So,
wala kaming ibang hari.
Caesar over God. Ayun, wala kaming ibang hari kung hindi si Caesar. Napakabaliktad nun sa theology ng Old Testament. Sa Old Testament, the only king is God himself.
Is the Lord. Yeah.
So, is the Lord. So now, you have the religious authority saying, no, doon kami sa Roman Emperor. Hindi kami sa Diyos. No? So, in a way, it's a unmasking of this political power play. Anyways, now that we have talked about that, let us now see briefly, kasi medyo nakita na natin kanina, no? How did Jesus interpret his own death? No? Kasi nga, we have seen, meron na siyang kutob. Nakikita niya, alam na niya kasi kung paano siya nabuhay, paano siya nag-preach. No? Now, how did he interpret it? No? Kasi nga, it's not an accident. Hindi to, Jesus knew that it was coming and he gave it meaning.
Well, dito ang isang importanteng bagay dito na nakikita ko. This is very important, this is very crucial. Sabi nga dito ni Ratzinger sa reflections na on Jesus of Nazareth. The manner by which Jesus said, "This is my body, which shall be given up for you." Sabi kanina, Father Lennon, na Jesus sees his suffering, his imminent suffering, his death on that cross as a definitive act of love for the Father and for all of us. Bakit siya sabing very crucial? Kasi reflecting also on Hans von Balthasar, siya sabi kasi na as the profound, as the divine entered the realm of the profane, or of us, the finite, when the infinite entered the finite realm, of course the finite cannot contain the infinite, and therefore merong repulsion, talagang isusuka ka, sorry for the word, pero that's actually, I think it's the better term. When the holy enters the unholy, definitely susuka ng unholy yung holy. And here, Jesus also acknowledges this truth. But he went beyond this, no? Ito yung parang nakikita ko importante kasi as Christians, he left this as a pattern of way of life. No? na if you remain true to my commandments, no? See, if you love me, you will follow you will follow my commandments, just as I love the Father and obeyed His commandments. Kaya nga, His death is an act of love and obedience to the Father above anything else, no? And this enabled Him to show love to us kasi the Father loves us so much that He sent His Son, no? For us all to be saved. So, by being aware of this, He freely gave Himself up. Hindi siya nagpadala lang dun sa sistemang yon. Yun lang ang point ko dun eh. Kasi tayo, when we try to be Christians, when we try to live out our witnessing as Christians, marami talaga tayo mababangga na values ng mundo. Isusuka talaga tayo ng society, and some of us will be even persecuted to the point that our lives will be threatened because of what we believe in. And by merely professing that faith, by merely standing up for that faith, our lives will be in danger. No? But Jesus freely, that's the operative term eh. Freely gave Himself up, no? So as we as Christians should also freely give ourselves up, no? As an act of love and obedience to Jesus, who in turn is obedient and loving of the Father. No? Ba't ko yan sinabi? Kasi the world has its own mechanisms. No? And dahil nga ganun, Jesus in the Gospels and in the timeless reflection of the church, hindi aksidente. Hindi lang result ng political or religious persecution yung krus, no? And of all this, no, imagine Jesus embraced that cross, which is during that time. Imagine ewan ko, I don't know if it makes sense, Pads, no? Pero tamang usapan lang. Jesus is a very intelligent man, no? Talagang definitely he has a very high IQ, no? And the way he is with people, he has a very strong EQ also. So matalino siya as a human being. Matalinong tao si Jesucristo. And he knows very well that the cross is the ugliest type of death. It's the ugliest. No, it's the most shameful, most embarrassing. Kaya sabi ni San Pablo sa sulat niya, for the Jews it is a scandal and it's foolishness for the Greeks eh. But for us who believes, it is the power of Christ and it is the wisdom of God and the salvation of God, no? That cross, no? And he freely accepted that cross. But kasi humans as we are, especially if we are headstrong, we can settle for pwede kang makipag-arrange sa, pwede ba pagutan mo na ako ng ulo para naman sanitary. Di ba? I mean, di ba? But no, this man was crucified. No. And he saw it coming. And he went beyond that. He gave it meaning. And so, as Christians also, as Catholics, no, Jesus gives meaning to suffering. No. The Son, no, Jesus, embraces the distance of sin, not as a sinner, but as perfect love meeting man's rebellion. Wow, napakalalim na, no? Ulitin ko, no? The Son embraces the distance of sin, not as a sinner, but as perfect love meeting man's rebellion. When he embraced that cross, he acknowledges that everybody deserves this cross. But not me. Kumbaga, but not him rather. Kumbaga, not Christ kasi he is sinless eh. But still, he showed that example that love can be perfected by embracing it. Kaya nga, well, for some points of discussion and reflection here, no? The self-offering in service to be a true offering must reach the deepest consequences. Yung kenosis nga na tinatawag sa Philippians chapter 2. Though he was in the form of God, Jesus did not deem himself equal with God, something to be grasped at. No? Rather, he emptied himself. taking the form of a slave, being born in the likeness of men. O tapos, because of this, God highly exalted him and gave him the name. But before he was exalted and gave him the name above every other name, he had to be obedient to the point of accepting death on the cross. No? Kaya siya in-exalt. No? So, ano ba yung ano dito, Pads? No? Kasi when we talk about how, even before the Last Supper, Jesus is already foretelling, the disciples. So even before all of this, even before his ministry, when he was being attuned to the discernment, to praying, he already has this in mind, But at his human level, at his human aspect, he also had to work patiently and painstakingly to perfect this intention, to give meaning sa kanyang suffering and death.
Okay, magano tayo ngayon? Bible reading. So, how do Jesus interpret his own death? First, let us go dun sa puntahan natin yung sinabi mo kanina, Sel, yung even before the Last Supper. But before that, we must also see first one of the last words of Christ sa cross mismo, If you remember one of the 7 last words, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. My God, why have you forsaken me? No? So now, this is actually a point of contention, Kasi mayroong mga theologians actually, like Jürgen Moltmann, na magkiklaim na it is actually a point of the abandonment of the Father, that the Father abandoned the Son. Kaya raw siya mas nakakaisa sa atin kasi niya na-feel din niya yung abandonment of the Father. However, this is problematic. Why? Because this Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, hindi lang siya isang linya. It's actually a quotation of a psalm. This is from Psalm 22. No? So, first, let's see yung historicity. Totoo ba na sinabi to ni Jesus dun sa cross? No? Well, all Gospels, every tradition, Synoptics, Johannine, may pinapakita sa atin na may mga salitang sinabi si Jesus sa krus. So, we cannot really say na imbento lang to ng mga ng mga evangelists, or nilagay lang yun as posterior theological interpretation. And also, what we have here in Psalm 22 are Aramaic. Kaya nga ang nakasulat, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, hindi natin din pinalitan yan. Kasi the original Greek version of the New Testament, pinanatili niya yung Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. This is Aramaic. And Aramaic, when we see Aramaic words or terms in the Gospels, this always assures us of the historicity of these lines, of these words, that these are what the biblical scholars call ipsissima verbi Jesu, the very words of Jesus himself. Because Aramaic is the maternal, yung mother tongue ni Jesus, And also, the mother tongue is also our language kapag nagdarasal tayo, di ba? Ako, pag nagdarasal ako, kahit nandito na ako, pagka personal prayer ko, Tagalog pa rin ang di ba? O Taglish, di ba? Pagka public prayer, tsaka na ako nag-Espanyol. Kaya nga rin, if you remember, yung kanyang term sa Father, di ba? Akba. So, Aramaic din yun. And, although the 12 apostles are not there physically except John dun sa crucifixion o sa cross, may mga witnesses na nakakita. So, makakasure tayo na may mga sinabi talaga si Jesus doon. Now, let's go back doon sa ano ba talaga yung sinasabi nitong Psalm, The problem is that yung interpretation na abandonment ito, nakakalimutan natin na para sa mga Hudyo, and Jesus is a very faithful Jew. Pagka binanggit mo yung unang line ng Salmo, you are actually praying, you are actually evoking the whole Psalm. Imagine, bakit hindi na lang niya dinasal buo kung kabisado naman pala niya? Imagine nandun ka sa krus, kalambitin ka doon ng ilang oras, di ba? Tapos namamatay ka na. So, ang masasabi mo na lang talaga yung unang linya. Now, let us go to the psalm itself and let us see how did Jesus interpret this death in the lens of the psalm. May Bible ka dyan, Sel. Tingnan natin yung Psalm 22.
So dito, sabi dito, no? My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me, from the words of my groaning? Oh my God, I cry by day, but you do not answer, and by night, but find no rest. Yet you are holy, enthroned on the praises of Israel. In you our ancestors trusted. They trusted, and you delivered them. To you they cried and were saved. In you they trusted and were not put to shame. But I am a worm and not human, scorned by others and despised by the people. Verse 11. Do not be far from me, for trouble is near, and there is no one to help. Verse 22. I will tell of your name to my brothers and sisters. In the midst of the congregation, I will praise you. Verse 24. For he did not despise or abhor the affliction of the afflicted. He did not hide his face from me. From you comes my praise in the great congregation. My vows I will pay before those who fear him. The poor shall eat and be satisfied. Those who seek him shall praise the Lord. May your hearts live forever. 29. To him indeed shall all who sleep in the earth bow down. Before him shall bow all who go down to the dust, and I shall live for him.
Yan. You see, the first verses, you have the situation of anguish, no? That situation na, my God, why have you forsaken me? I cried to you in the day and you do not respond. But yung pinaka-body ng psalm is
Yeah,
actually
it's
a
a psalm of
psalm
hope.
of confidence. It's
Yeah,
hope, no? Kaya
yeah,
however you are holy. Yun ang sinasabi niya. In you, the people have confidence. Our fathers have confided, no? And this is how Jesus actually lived out his death. From the petition of help, no? That cry for help to God, to the confidence, no? Yung confidence niya na itong nangyayari ito is under the control of the Father. And this giving up of my life does not end here, no? Kita natin later yung sa resurrection, no? And also, yung pinaka-importante na actually yung verse 29, may direct mention actually dun sa relationship ni ng kingdom of God sa Diyos, no, kay Jacbe, because Jacbe is the kingdom and he will dominate all nations, no. Now what we have here is a relationship of confidence, a relationship of self-giving. This is how Jesus interprets his death. No, hindi siya abandonment. Jesus is confident, no, that this is under the Father's hands, under the Father's control. That is Psalm 22. Now, let us go to another biblical basis, no, ng ating paano interpret ni Jesus itong kanyang sariling kamatayan. We have the parable. Ewan ko anong tamang title nito sa English. Yung laborers, yung murderer laborers ang nilagay ko dyan kasi translate ko lang sa Spanish eh. Yung vineyard na tanda mo yon, yung sa Mark 12:1 to 12 or Matthew 21:33 to 46 or Luke 20:1 to 9. Ito yung kwento nung may mga hinire yung isang may-ari ng vineyard para mag-alaga ng vineyard niya, di ba? Tapos umalis siya. Tapos nung kailangan yung kukunin na niya yung share niya, kumbaga yung kita niya, padala siya doon ng mga messengers, ginawa ng mga laborers, pinatay yung mga messenger. send pala ulit siya ng messenger, tapos pinatay ulit. And then, he sent his only son thinking na, itong anak ko, they will respect him. And then, the laborers thought na, teka, he's the only son. Pag pinatay natin siya, mapupunta sa atin yung mana. So, pinatay nila. This is actually a very powerful parable and a key parable kasi this happened immediately, or Jesus told this parable immediately after ng cleansing of the temple. What Jesus is saying here is yung parallelism, no? The Father, God the Father, as the owner of the vineyard. The laborers are us. And then the messengers are the prophets. At the end of that long line of the prophets na pinapatay lang ng bayan ng Israel, He sent His only Son, Jesus Christ. So now, you can see here yung, yung interpretation. After, sabi natin kanina na sa cleansing of the temple, may kutob na si Jesus na, teka, may mangyayari sa akin. And now you have this parable. Ito yung sinasabi ni Russell na before pa ng Last Supper, meron na siyang clues, kumbaga, na ito yung ito yung mangyayari sa akin. Pero ito yung meaning ng mangyayari sa akin. That this is not just death. This is actually for something else, for something much greater. No? Yan yung sa parable. Anong title sa English? Nakita mo ba?
Parable of the Wicked Tenants.
Meron din tayong mga gave formulas, no? Yung mga words na he was given up. Nandiyan yung Judas gave him up. No? The people gave him up. And then you have also that Jesus himself gave up himself, yung sa words of consecration niya. No, this is my body which will be given up for you. And also God gave up his only son. Remember letter to Romans 8 verse 32, no, that he did not pardon his own son. He gave his own son for us, no? So may tatlong giving up. Men gave up Jesus. Jesus himself has given up himself for us, and God has given up his only son for us. Again, yung for us na very important, no? And yung sasabi ni Russell that his death, no? Jesus' death ay sa Greek ang term ay dei, which means it's necessary. It's necessary because going back again sa sabi natin kanina sa Philippians, yung kenosis na ito ay kailangan talagang ma-reach yung pinakababa, yung pinakalalim, ganun kalalim yung hindi lang siya basta-bastang bumaba. Talagang binabaan niya hanggang sa pinakamalalim, no? Niyakap niya yung krus. Now, ewan ko Sel kung kasi na rin tayo 1 hour and 30 minutes na rin tayo. So, maybe it is right na for the first time in forever, let's have 2 episodes this week. No, hatiin natin to ngayon. Ito yung sa death, no? Passion and death. Let's have another episode about the resurrection. Sabihin natin na i-upload natin to if you are listening now. Upload natin to ng Tuesday, and then on Thursday you can hear, or on Friday you can hear the part 2, no, yung sa resurrection. Pero as I'm saying, we cannot really appreciate it now because the cross, the crucifix has become very normal for us. But the cross is actually a death na very scandalous. Kaya scandal to. It's very grim way to die. No? The Romans are very efficient but very cruel. No? Na perfect nila tong crucifixion. The crucifixion, it is not only a death sentence. It's also humiliating, no? Kasi unti-unti kang pinapatay, and then you are exposed there. Actually, walang tabing, nakahubad-hubad yung crucified person. And then, nabanggit ni Russell kanina yung sa sponge, no? Na yun ay ginagamit. Actually, ang sponge ay ginagamit ng mga Romano sa common CR nila. Panghugas yun, mga kaibigan. No? And then, also, you have the vinegar. The vinegar is actually, akala natin nagmamak lang sila kaya vinegar. Actually, vinegar is an anesthetic, no? An anesthetic para manumb ka dun sa pain. So, mananatili ka pa rin doon na nagsasuffer for how many hours, yung iba nga for how many days. So, the cross is actually a very grim way to die. It is not just physical death. That is humiliating. That is tinatanggal yung pagiging tao mo. Very dehumanizing way to die. And that is how this movement of the kenosis, no, of the logos to theo, the logos, the word of God, taking the form of a slave. No? Pag tinignan niyo yung Philippians 2, pababa yun ng paba. He was in the form of God. He took the appearance of man, the form of a slave, hindi nga lang man, slave, no? Then, he embraced death, no? He accepted death. And death on a cross, no? Pababa ng pababa. So, ganun ka, no? Grim yung death on a cross. But then again, it was necessary for you and for many, no? Yung giving up of the Lord. Now, as I have said, again, to give justice, no, dito sa ating episode at dun sa susunod na part nito, no, sa resurrection, no, I propose na hatiin natin to for the first time and forever. Gagawin nating dalawang episode for this week. So this will be uploaded Tuesday. You will be hearing this on Tuesday. And the next episode we will be talking, or the next part of this episode, no, we will be talking about the resurrection. No? The resurrection, the empty tomb, the significance of the resurrection for today. No? At yun ay mapapakinggan ninyo sa Friday o Thursday. Ano ba mas maganda, Sen?
Basta i-upload na lang namin. Sorry at hindi
Friday this
namin
week. So, dalawang episode this week.
naputol lang tayo sa regular Wednesday uploads natin. Pero bawi po kami agad sa inyong lahat, mga kaibigan. So, tama yun. This is just so interesting at the same time. It's very important. Kita nyo nga this episode is divided into various segments, and yet hindi nga natin matapos in even an hour. No? We are reaching 2 hours already. And yet there's still so much to discuss and so much to reflect on. So for our resurrection discussion, we'll have it for the next episode. By the way, if you're still here joining us dito sa portion na to ng usapan, we truly appreciate how you join us here, and we sincerely hope that we are reaching you. So if you have questions also, especially sa mga episodes na nagdaan, lalo na dito sa Paschal Mystery, please feel free to reach us sa Facebook, sa Instagram, sa aming email, or even dito sa Spotify. May comment section dyan. And we are just so happy na we are covering this mini-series on Christology. It's high time that we bring back again Christ in Christianity. Diba? After all, the religion was named after him. So we are doing this in a way to remind us also that despite of what we know or what we have learned over the years, we are nothing. All of us are nothing without Christ and His self-giving love. It's the very highlight of the Paschal Mystery. And gaya nga ng tanong ko sa pinaka-opening ng episode, what makes it a mystery is that why He chooses to give Himself freely up. No? That's a mystery, no? That we have to always ponder and live, no? For the rest of our lives. So, dito na muna po kami ni Father Lennon. Again, sana nandiyan pa rin kayo sa susunod na episode. And magkasama-sama tayo muli sa reflection, sa kaunting biruan, at the same time, sa pagtuklas ng hiwaga ng ating pananampalataya. Muli po, ito po si Russell.
At dito naman po si Lennon.
At ito ang Tamang Usapan.
Usapang may tama.
Wow!